seen this.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to another podcast episode of TAF Solutions and all the wonderful things. I'm Joe Wallace.
And I'm Sean Odmishi. And Joe, that was pretty cool. I like the little dance you did right at the beginning. What's up?
Enabling Instagram right now so that way it can go out. Thanks, Instagram, for being so weird. All right.
What's it doing now?
Well, no, it's just, you have to do an extra step for it to go live. I got to push live here, and I got to go to Instagram and push live there. Meta, what's going on, guys? You try to get it on the program. Nobody else has had any problems. But for those that are wondering what we're talking about, guys, we use StreamYards, and it's fantastic. By the way, shameless plug in chat, feel free. If you want to try out StreamYards yourself, get $10 discount on us. No problem. Okay.
You mean if they click on the link, they get discount on us?
Yeah, on us.
That's better than sliced bread.
Yeah, for nothing. Just do it. Guarantee you it's going to be good for you. And in the meantime, feel free to enjoy the words coming out of our mouths that are usually very true. So, Sean, I think we just finished up on Monday actually a large workshop that we've been working on for a while. What was your like feeling as we closed that?
Yeah, look, my take on it was it was a great event. It was a great workshop, and people really, really enjoyed it. And we got some great praises from it. But look, right now AI is the big buzz, and people are utilizing it, and they need to know more about it. And that's why we're here. We're here to be able to share and disseminate information on making sure that they're able to find out exactly what they need to know for their small business. And I'm also live too. So what's going on, guys? So there's cool. We're doing this.
Absolutely. Listen. You got to remember, guys, that when we're talking about this stuff, it's not just about the magic AI, the things that are coming out that are just like, okay, these new tools that are amazing and do things. It's for somebody, but not me, right? Because again, I got a business to run. I got things to do. I don't have time to adopt a brand new tool. And so that the thing I think we talked about during our last what was it? Yeah, our last workshop. One of the things that we had talked about that really hit home for me, especially when Sean had said it, was and I've heard this several times from other people as well in the industry, that when people first thought, oh, I don't have to do AI or a website in this case. I don't have to do a website, but that's silly. Why would I need to do a website? Just 5-7 years ago, people were still up to this day they don't even have a website. Let's say in 2019, right, for instance, when right before the COVID stuff happened, we're talking about people going, okay, I still don't have a website, and now there's no way for people to walk into your door.
Right.
A lot of places shut down. And
right.
That's something that we talked about during the workshop, Sean. I think that right there just says it all. If you right now you're talking about AI as if it's not your problem, it will be.
Should we go into more detail about that, the story behind that?
Sure.
I really do. I think that's very important for those of you that want to have a perspective of small business owners prior to COVID. Everybody forgets before COVID-19, we all existed, right? And there was people ran businesses, and believe it or not, people ran businesses without a website. They hadn't have a digital presence because they relied solely on having face-to-face traffic. It's like, Joe, I got a bakery. You've been coming to me for a very long time. I make the best bread, Joe. It's the best bread. Okay. And you've never had to do anything online. I've never had to do any online transactions with customers. And it really wasn't it, because my entire base was essentially what? Face-to-face. So people didn't want a website. Well, when COVID hit, guess what? Everything shut down.
Everything.
Regardless of how you feel about that, everything shut down. And when that did, all the businesses that were relying face-to-face with transactions, they took a massive hit. Those companies, those businesses that were able to transition from face-to-face transactions to a digital online transaction survived during the pandemic. And those that didn't have the technology and the infrastructure in place were not able to survive, right? That's really what happened. We saw it, and at that time, Joe, I was in higher education, and I'm going to give you this perspective. You have 92,000 students, you got 6,000 faculty. All right, you shut down face-to-face classes. So how do you take students that are learning welding, truck,
Yeah.
all these requirements, right? Either so they retired, they left, courses enrollment got hit. Long story short, it was a massive impact. It was a massive issue. Fast forward till today. So people are saying, you know what? I pride myself in not having artificial intelligence. I pride myself in not using AI because you know what? We're going to keep it organic and we're going to keep it true. Well, I hate to tell you this, but we're in a fork in the road that if you don't get onto this, there's a massive issue. So your business needs to be utilizing some sort of artificial intelligence. You need to be having digital presence, and you really, really have to move your company into the digital age. And that's really where Joe and I are here to be able to assist and support. And when we had that conversation, Joe, in one of our face-to-face meetings, you could see everybody's eyes light up.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah. And I think one thing that trips up a lot of people when it comes to this stuff isn't like, look, we're, by the way, Sean and I, we're not here pimping out some kind of AI tool thing that's going to solve all your problems.
no, we're not.
Just for everybody to understand that, because we're just talking about it because again, we're small business centric. We love small businesses, and that's what we're a small business ourselves. It's important for us to make sure that you guys understand that. Yes, we have solutions, and we think that work, but those solutions will change. Just like any mechanics, tools will change, right, for the needs of the job. That's what we're at. Okay, so we're not here to say, hey, Claude's number one, go get it. Here's our link, go get it. We'll get a kickback. No, Now what we will tell you is that this tool over here, just like I said, you got a hammer, you got a spanner, you got all the stuff you need to do the tools for the job. You're not going to use all those tools for everything, and that's what we're trying to tell you guys is important to understand. You use the right tool for the job, not the one tool that solves everything. So,
Right.
That's why we talk about Bird Eye sometimes. That's why we talk about ChatGPT, HubSpot, Zapier, blah blah blah. All those are a means to an end, and people get tripped up. Circling back to what I said initially, is they think that AI is a one-trick pony for everything. When the reality is it's a tool, and a lot of them are tools like especially certain AI is tools meant for one thing and one thing only, and it does it very well. So, for those that are familiar with AI, most people think of ChatGPT right away. I don't blame you. Advertising's there, in the news all the time. OpenAI is cutting deals with government and like large businesses and blah blah blah. All that stuff, right? But keep in mind that is just one artificial intelligence example, and not necessarily the best either, right? For everything.
Right. Joe, I want to ask you a quick question. So I have a lot of people that are watching that are not part of these streams. If they want to access StreamYard, is there a URL they can get that's not part of one of the social media pieces? Is StreamYard have a link for that?
We're not actually going out to the stream for StreamYards itself. So no, they could see the aftermath.
Aftermath. Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
But they would need to just TAF Solutions.
Okay.
And they would be able to access it then on like YouTube, whatever.
Yeah,
I'm
gonna do that. I'm definitely gonna do that because there's a lot of interaction going on that too. Cool.
Perfect.
Excellent. So
because it's showing the YouTube video. Actually, I can find it real quick.
Cool. Well, that's cool. It's no big deal. We can certainly do that later. Do you want to move on to some of the articles that just came out too?
Yeah, I think it's important, that we talk about it.
Yeah.
So for instance, you have places like Forbes and some other places that when we talk about this stuff, but let's start with this real quick. So again, just hitting home that there is a large amount of optics on AI when it comes to Microsoft 365, Google Workspace, all this stuff. And of course, I think it's funny. I remember way back in the day when they were introducing Watson, right?
Yeah.
Which was AI, right? But they didn't call it that. And I think it was great because now I didn't know it was still in existence. Actually, it's Watson X now, right? So you gotta, I guess, it's the new generation of Watson, right? So, but what's great about this is it really hits home that yes, SMBs are looking for these things, but the problem is just like in this article, it hits that same issue that we've been talking about, where people are using all the big things that larger companies are using, like ChatGPT, Creative Cloud, 360. They mention all the big, huge things. So that doesn't really help people, and that's my problem right now with mass media is they're looking at the surface of the water and they're kind of seeing what's on top or poking out like the icebergs, right? They see the top of the icebergs, but they don't understand the small and medium businesses need specific tools to be able to be, not just relevant, but competitive, go beyond your enterprise counterparts. What do
Right.
you think, Sean? As far as that's concerned, and in your experience too, what else should we be looking at when it comes to that? Like,
Well, one thing that's been really coming to my mind about a lot of these tools and how large, enterprise, small, everybody's using these tools, but no one's really discussing about laying the framework for it to be leveling the playing ground. And that's what I find it interesting is, you know, I was watching. I'm going to put it this way, Joe. I was watching this one lady, in social media, and she was talking about she's got like 75,000 followers, and she says the only reason why she was able to learn, Joe, was because of YouTube and everything else, YouTube and social media and so forth, because she's a visual learner and so forth. And I think what's happening is you have these tools that are coming out, but because of the access of information and people are learning how to use these tools, it's leveling the playing field. So I think today, if you are a small business owner and you're looking to get ahead, or if you're looking to fight and challenge the big corporation, right? The Walmarts, right? The Amazons, because you sell a widget too. How do you get in front of all these people? Well, people are using these tools. So I think that's leveling the playing field. And I think that's how they're able to compete. And I think if you're smart, and one thing that I've always talked about, Joe, is if you have a small business, you need to have your processes written down. You and I have talked about this time and time again, even with our own business. If you have your process up here and you don't write it down, you can't automate that. You got to write it down,
yeah,
really understand what the process is, so you can learn how to automate that. And that's going to move people. That's going to move people in that direction. So once again, I think small businesses actually have an opportunity to give the fist to the big companies now.
well, I absolutely agree. I mean, again, I think at the end of the day, we're talking about an entire upset, right? Where not only you're going to be able to, so you're going to be able to surpass big business because they can't steer the ship fast enough to
Right.
make the changes that they need to be made, um, that they haven't already made. So here's a problem. Like, if I'll switch over to this new article here. Um, so what I think is interesting that people are pointing out finally some of the advantages and challenges of AI in companies. And what's great is this allows us to be able to kind of see where their heads at in large companies like we're just talking about now. And of course, I think they're hitting it right when they say process automation and decision making improvements. It's the usual crap. We're going to ask AI what's going on. We're going to try and have artificial intelligence on top of regular just processes that have been around for a while, just automations, because you have to set those up yourself very often. So I think it's weird, actually, by the way, that we're using automation as an example of AI, or not process automation specifically. Like an if then statement, because that's something that you set up, right? But where it shines is when you're setting it up through an artificial intelligence to help make the decisions on the branching paths for you instead of you setting it all up, right? So if you've ever seen a CRM, guys, like HubSpot, Go High Level, that has those automations inside of those there, where you're like, hey, I have done this action and I want it to now do these things as well because somebody has done this or this. right? If you're setting up every part of that line, right, you're doing the automation. It's not AI automation. And I've seen some software companies saying that is AI automation. No, that's human automation. It's just you're ticking some boxes. Where it becomes AI automation for processes is when the AI is making the decision based off of what somebody has done. That's it, And so, again, I just wanted to point that out. And then obviously, they're talking about the efficiency and cost reduction. I think that honestly is understated. That should not be number 4 for me. That's number freaking 1. Because to me, as a small business, that is your concern, is how am I going to be bigger without having to blow through more of my budget, not be able to then maybe survive off what I make.
But I want to reiterate this again, and I think small business owners and people in general, that whenever they implement a tool or they're going to utilize a tool, they have to be disciplined enough. They have to have a process. They have to have a strategy to be able to implement these tools. I can't tell you how many times we've seen it where people buy a tool and they say, "Now what? Oh, I thought it was just going to work, Joe. You just I paid for the license. It just
Right.
should work." No, but there's time and attention to the detail that needs to go into it. And then I think then is when you can say it becomes more effective, more efficient, and then it reduces your overhead costs because it's doing something. A matter of fact, I won't name any names, but we were talking to a small business owner that's paying someone overseas close to $1,500 a month to be able to do administrative tasks. And my question to this person was, okay, great. So you're paying that, and um, why don't you automate a lot of the tools? He goes, well, I want to. I said, well, how about we start with this, Joe? How about we start with this? What do they do on a daily basis for you? He just sat and looked at me and he said, you know what, Sean? I really don't know exactly what she does for me. Think about this for a second. That's something, but doesn't know exactly. And I said, okay. I said, fair enough. She's doing work for you, though, correct? So, how do you hold her accountable? How do you have metrics? Do you have milestones? And most importantly, Joe, if the person leaves and they're taking care of whatever they need to take care of and they leave for whatever reason, then what? Do you have your processes written down? No,
Course not.
absolutely. So
He has no idea what she even did in the first place, really.
right. Well, that's the point. So for those of you that are looking to open a business or looking to that have a small business or doing well, and you know that you own all of the intellectual rights, like it's in your head, please write it down. Get a
Yeah.
notepad, get a spiral, get your wife, get your friend, whoever, to sit down with you and
It's not your dog, just because heaven forbid you ask
I
your
don't
dog to write
know.
something.
At this point in time, Joe, Elon Musk might make a chip that goes in the dog and it's able to translate human
Right.
English. I'm just messing with you, but you
Right.
get where I'm going with this. It's just
Right.
write it down. You gotta write this stuff down.
So no, absolutely, and I think that's where we're running into a lot of issues with people too. Is like the core misunderstanding of what it is. And listen, we're not saying, guys, by the way, hey, replace that crazy lady overseas with some artificial bot, because the
No.
problem is this: like what we just talked about is an issue of identifying exactly what it is somebody is doing, being more efficient. This wonderful lady potentially could be doing way more interesting things that aren't tedious, that would also benefit his business, and being paid the same amount of money. I'll put it to you this way: we've seen all lots, and I'm gonna put this down real quick. So we're gonna talk about it more in a sec.
Yeah.
I think we've seen a lot of people talk about how it's expensive, and actually that is kind of the next step in this thing here, where it says the challenge is being high initial costs. So I want to actually refute that. I really do, because what is higher, advertising or hiring somebody to do some menial tasks for you? And if the answer is advertising or the other one, you're looking at a situation where you can actually make it easier for you on both fronts. It doesn't have to be this one thing over here that AI solves. So hey, if you let's say you're a dentist office and you're having trouble getting somebody to man the front desks, what do? It's not that you don't want to hire somebody. You'd prefer to have a person there.
Right.
Okay. But if people aren't willing to, work at that location for whatever reason may be, right? Or maybe you're not able to pay enough. Who knows? It could be a multitude of reasons. But the reality is that you're not able to hire somebody. So what do? Well, you need to find a solution. Otherwise, you're not going to be able to compete. So you had to charge more, right? Your clientele, they're not going to like that. You're already having difficulty maybe probably bringing people in because you haven't been answering the phones, And so,
Right.
it's a roller coaster. So you find the solution that is the best of both worlds, and that is the most efficient method. Artificial intelligence that can help take inbound calls, and when somebody, or even do outbound calls, just confirming an appointment, let's say for a dentist office, or taking in and answering general questions. And guess what? If somebody then, of course, needs to talk to somebody, they talk to somebody by hitting a button or saying it, and the AI immediately triages it. The point is it doesn't have to replace somebody, because later on down the line, when you can bring somebody on board, now they don't have to spend all their menial tasks on the minutia of what that AI is now handling. They can now do other things manning their front desk, specifically having to do on location. That is something that has actually been done with one of our clients. Actually, we won't name the names just because of privacy concerns, but I will tell you that they have seen some fantastic growth using some artificial intelligence, and is the exact situation I described. And hey, what is it? It costs them very little. It is what I believe $700 a month for basically something that is outgoing and incoming. And there was an initial investment, I believe, of a few $1,000s just to get the ball rolling. But as a monthly cost is concerned, if you're talking about a person handling all those things, you're talking about $1,500 to $2,000 a month, right?
You hit around now, and so let's just go one step further. What you need to understand is the agent, and you can run multiple agents, different campaigns. Keep that in mind.
Right.
So this one particular agent that they had running was to handle all of the existing customers, or those that were due for a annual checkup, a cleaning checkup. That's one campaign. So if anything comes out of that, that's money in their pocket, right? The other campaign would be answering the inbound phone calls. That's your second agent. A third agent would be answering the emergency calls. That's your third agent. So it becomes extremely cost effective. But I think what people need to understand is these tools require time, commitment, but also strategic alignment with your processes and your marketing guy. So
Right.
Joe walked in there and he's like, okay, tell me what you're doing. And then what we love to do is we say, okay, well, what about all these existing clients? You got like 5,000 existing clients. What are you doing with them? They just sit there. No, you need to turn on a campaign. What's the most expensive service that you could reach out to them? Oh, well, we'll just use, for example, cleaning. Okay. What about cosmetic industry, right? Another campaign. And that's what Joe does. So Joe and I were here to be able to help make you money, not take your money.
You succeed. Look, you guys succeed,
Right.
we succeed. I mean, that's the
Right.
important thing. Like, and again, guys, we're here talking on the podcast, trying not to sell nothing. We're just trying to give you guys the importance and understanding of what it is that's out there. Because look, I think as Sean said during our last workshop on Monday, AI is here. It's not coming in the future. It's not a pending thing. It's not in the loading screen right now. Okay. It's here. It's going. It's actually well along the path at this point, because you've got to by the way, and Sean, I put in private chat the link.
I saw it. Yes.
All right, cool. But I want to point out, like, we're basically reporting what we see, and what we see is dynamic. What you see as AI right now, and what a lot of people see as AI right now, was AI when it first came out in 2022. ChatGPT dropped. Everybody's like, whoa.
Right.
But for some reason, people are still frozen in time, thinking that that's still how AI is. I actually talked to somebody the other day who thought that the ChatGPT was still locked behind that time frame situation that came when it first came out. I haven't seen anything since 2017 or 16. You know what I'm saying? Like, it was. That's my breadth of understanding. No, man, we're in the 5th generation of ChatGPT. It's not even one generation a year. It's freaking 2 or 3, man. Like, it's nuts. And people are just like, hey, I still see people talk about how Mid-Journey it has multiple fingers. Where were you 6 months ago when that was no longer an issue? Hasn't been for quite some time, actually.
And just to let you know, we're not selling a product, but we are doing the selling. We're selling hopes and dreams. Hopes and dreams.
It's actually pretty accurate because yeah, it is accurate.
That's a new thing. Tab Solutions. We make all your hopes and dreams come true. Look at the go ahead, Joe.
And we solve issues. I mean, that's the main thing, right?
Right.
You know, but you're right. It is hopes because guys, complexity, the knowledge required for this stuff, it does feel like the learning curve is insurmountable for a lot of people, and you got to have a lot of prior knowledge to really get AI right now. But it's just like anything. As long as you're actually starting down the path, you're going to get there, man. But get on the path now, because if you're not on the path now, later on down the line, it's just going to get worse.
Right.
I'm telling you right now. And if you're a business and you are not like clued in on what needs to be done, and heaven forbid you don't even have a website still, like, God help you. I don't know how you survived till now, actually, from 2020 up till now. But you should count yourself lucky if you did. Get that website, get it done, because we're so far beyond that at this point. It's absurd.
You hit it right on the nail, man. And I'll just say that in 2025, and this is where I think people are not digesting, since the emergence in the past couple of years of artificial intelligence. And when I say emergence, AI has been around for a while. Process automation has been around here for a while. Tools have changed. The adoption process has skyrocketed. And if you are not getting on the train, you're going to have a problem, because others are getting on the train. They've already gone on the train and they're doing so much. I was sitting at that table, Joe, and once again, these are all business owners. And there was one gentleman, he's a realtor. He's been a realtor for a while. And the other lady sells insurance. 2 different industries. But here is the adoption process. One said, yeah, I use Perplexity, Claude, ChatGPT. I do all this. I take my contract, I put it directly into ChatGPT. I have it translated. It tells me all the issues with the contract. It tells me my liabilities, blah, 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 blah. He said that. That's what he uses it for. The other lady turned around and says, I don't even know where to start. I don't even know what to do. But what I do know is that all the other insurance agents that work with me, they're using all day long. But I don't use it because I don't know how to use it. And that's the scary part, Joe. The scary part is some people are intimidated. Some people are fearful of adoption of tools. But the challenge that we have today is if you don't get on it, you're going to have a very difficult time competing with those that are using these tools. It's kind of like sports, Joe. The whole thing with steroids, right? Enhancement performance, right. The Olympics right. They do drug tests to make sure that you're not using anything that's not performance enhancing. I know you know a lot more about that than I do, actually, Joe. But in terms of, dude goes to the gym every day. Okay? He lives at the gym
4 days a week. Yeah.
But the bottom line is kind of looking like steroids, man. These people are taking the steroids. They're on the juice, man. The juice is AI. And you got all these poor other people that are not on the juice. They're lifting. They're doing the organic way, but they're not going to look like the dude that's juiced. And I'm not saying AI is juice, but I think you kind of get where I'm going with this. Is if you want to get the maximum, you gotta do it.
Yeah.
You have to do it. So
and it goes further than that, obviously. And,
yeah.
and I know I've said this story, I think maybe once or twice on the podcast, but I'll say it again because I was in front of a group of kids, at an
Yeah.
educational summer camp thing
Right.
situation where it's put on by one of these schools, and Task Solutions was able to come out and talk to them, and so we were in front of a group of kids, and they were asking me like, "Do you use AI?" Any of the stuff that I do. And by the way, guys, if you're not familiar with who I am, what I do in the past, my history is in video production, 3D animation, graphic design, audio production. Like basically, if it needs to spread a message, I've done it. Okay. So when I tell you that I am a huge proponent for AI, even in that space, ought to shock a lot of people who are in the creative sector, because you've probably heard a lot of people be completely anti-AI when it comes to that. Although I do think secretly you got people in the background like trying to learn it, because as much as they're yelling they don't like it, I think they see the writing on the wall. If they haven't yet, then they're about to. So that aside, so you guys kind of understand where I'm coming from. I was talking with them about some of the things that I've done, and if you've ever seen our work on YouTube, you know that there's a lot of visual elements that I've been able to show and do. So they asked these questions, and I said, absolutely. And they said, well, why? Why? And I'm just like, because I use it as inspiration. I use it as something that can assist me. Where it used to take a very long time for some of these things, does not take as long anymore. Because here's the thing. I'm a video production guy, at least that's what I told them. If I'm working in video, it doesn't necessarily mean I'm an artist that can draw. I'm an artist, but I can't draw. Okay. So what can I do? I can either hire somebody to draw for me, which I will very likely do for a project, because if I need something specific, I will have to get somebody who can do exactly what I'm looking for, or better yet, what my client's working for. But what I can do in the meantime is I can get inspiration for not just myself, but my client as well, to see exactly what it is they want to do, and then hand that off to an artist. And now we have something that's for sure going to work. So instead of throwing darts at a board, and trying to be like, hey, look, we got to, do you like this, or this? Some samples that somebody else has done. We've like made that process so much faster now. So now we actually are very confident about what we're making. So that's one reason. The other reason is because if I don't, other people are going to start doing the exact things that I'm unwilling to do, and I'm going to not be able to compete anymore, period. And they're just like, well, I had one person just like, well, I think you should be able to draw or make something and not have to worry about AI at all. And I said, okay, I agree with you. I would love if we could just continue to do that. But I have a quick question for you. Who made your shirt? Of course, what? They didn't expect the question,
Right.
It's like, who made your t-shirt? What seamstress made, who's the name of the seamstress that made your t-shirt?
Calvin Klein.
And and they're just like, what? I got it from my mom got it from Walmart or something, whatever it was.
Right.
The point was, I was like, well, that's not who made it. And here's the thing. A machine made your shirt. That's the answer. And they're like, oh, okay. And I was like, a long time ago, there were a lot of people who made clothes. Machines didn't make clothes.
Right.
There were seamstresses and seamstress. It's what they did. And then one day in the Industrial Revolution, all these machines started making clothes. It was being developed, and the seamstresses, they went on strike. They went crazy. They tried to go to Washington, and it was a worldwide thing. So they went to their public institution choice and said, you know what? We weren't going to stand for this. We have rights. We want to we need to freeze the payment. We got to do all kinds of stuff, And they fought long and hard for it. And what ended up happening was they lost, because the cost savings for the people involved, aka the end user, the person who's purchasing it, was so great that they could not circumvent it. It could not be stopped. And so the free market won that day, basically, and said, you know what, we're gonna the most cost-effective solution is the best solution in this case. Now, that doesn't mean that the machine is doing a better job, right? The seamstresses were doing a far better job actually in quality at the time. Remember that. Starts off early. Of course, nowadays, it's actually going to be very difficult for a human being to do what a machine does at this point in that realm, right?
Right.
My point in saying this is that you don't know who your seamstress is because they don't exist. Now, seamsters and seamstresses still exist in a capacity, but what did they have to do? One, they had to figure out how the freaking machines worked, first of all. And second, so they can help run it and everything. And second, they became large owners of companies. And the other option they had was highly customizable, high-end fashion that are super expensive. They had to niche themselves, and that's it. Those are the only options for them. Now, that doesn't mean that seamsters and seamstresses are worthless. It just means that their job requirements changed. Now they have to know how the machines work, how they load. They still need to know how to actually make these things. That didn't stop. But what did stop is the breadth of their skills. And that's the point that I made for them. And it actually dawned on a few of them. Some were still stuck on the fact that I called their seamstress a machine, but whatever,
Well, and I think you hit around the nail. I think what happens is when you start talking about artificial intelligence, when you start talking about these tools, there is a mental block. I think some people just get extremely intimidated, and they just totally have a mental block. And you're not gonna win everybody over, Joe. Some people still believe that the Terminators are going to rise up and they're going to take over. Okay.
I'm not saying that's an impossible thing either, by the way. I'm just saying
I understand.
Another reason, though, why we should actually know what the hell is going on with AI, right?
Right. Totally get it. But look, I know the common theme is you should start looking at process automation, but I'm going to be real with you. From one business owner to another, you need to take your processes and write them down. It's fundamental things, man. Tools are great, but it doesn't replace emotions. It doesn't replace these things. It just doesn't. So it doesn't replace taste either, Joe. I still like a good steak. So
no.
You can make a beautiful AI generated steak, but it ain't gonna taste like that one.
Can't eat that, but yeah.
So.
And listen, guys, we're definitely excited about the future when it comes to this realm, because the tools enabling us. Listen, we haven't even talked about the agentic AI that's coming down the pipe, and some of the other tools that people don't have access to yet that we've seen. It's another. You think it's crazy now? Just wait, And I think another reason why we definitively need to be very aware of what's happening with artificial intelligence, how to use it for any reason, because it's just like any tool. If people want to be pessimistic and a little negative about it, definitely take it from that effect and say, look, if we don't know about it, it can be used against us.
Right.
Okay. And if you want to be positive about it, be like, look, if I'm not using it, I'm missing out. I'm not going to be as efficient, and I'm going to not be able to do my business. So it's a win-win just to know it, regardless of your stance.
Hit it right on the nail. There's a lot more that we're doing, Joe. As far as Staff Solutions concerns, we're doing a lot more in the education field. I won't go into too much detail because we got some things coming down the pipeline, but we are really excited to be able to utilize our background in higher education to bring some really innovative things to you in a way that you're going to be able to understand and digest as a small business owner. And it goes back to our mission, which is being your community technology partner and supporting the community and really empowering you as a small business owner with these tools. That's what we're doing. And of course, and not only that, but also letting people know that if you're looking for a good band to listen to, Tool is your band. Okay.
Tool is the one. I love it.
Yes. I'm not wearing Tool, but it's on my wall when I went to the last.
I wish I had a referral link for Tool that I could give you right now, but I can't. So.
Right. Well, they can be maybe Maynard. Maybe Maynard will come on here and talk more.
Maynard, I'd love a referral link.
Agreed.
Because he's not, because it's not it's like a band that's not popular or something. Anyway, well, that being said, guys,
Taylor Swift.
I think I'll pass on that one. It's okay. That's not for me. It's not for me. It's for somebody. Hey, it's not for me.
Hey.
Yeah, I'd rather take a cymbal and bang my head with it. But anyways, all right. So, all right. I think guys, we're pretty much hitting up a time right now. Catch us again for our workshop coming up. We're going to be putting out the information soon. We haven't put it out yet, but you're here to hear first. We had a part 2 to our workshop that we were working on this last week. We are doing a part 2 because there was so much information that we just couldn't get to that it actually bled over. So you got a lot of demos we're going to be going through. If you're listening to this wonderful podcast and going, my God, they just talked about the possibilities. They didn't dive into anything. Why am I listening to these crazy people? It's because we do actually. We just do it at the workshops. So feel free to scope in on that. The 10th is when we're setting that for November. And then, of course, our next podcast is going to be on the 29th. We do one every 2 weeks. We may start doing more if we get more demand for it, guys. But right now we're just trying to spread awareness, and we do a lot of work in a lot of different places. So this is what fits for us. Again, feel free to jump in and also comment, love, subscribe, share. We love the sharing aspect. Feel free to do that because for us, that's what really makes us happy and continue to do this because we're trying to spread the love as much as we can. But lot of people, saying a lot of things and people get drowned out. So feel free to share. That's the best thing you can do for us. Sean, any other thoughts before we close out?
Go listen to Tool.
Go listen to Tool. But don't be a tool. All right.
That's right.
So, all right, guys.
Bye,
Have
tools.
a good rest of the week.